Good morning, everyone. It is 11:30, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I wanted to first ask if you're joining us right now to please enter your chat in the chat, your name and who you represent. So we have a good idea of who's with us, but I just want to welcome. I see a lot of ISDs, a lot of workforce board folks, some industry leadership, some community leadership. So welcome to everyone. So this is we're having a webinar, how to host a career signing day. This webinar is hosted by the Texas Workforce Commission. I'm your moderator, Lori Knight. I'm Education and Outreach Manager for TWC, and I'm joined by my colleague, Amy Landrum, who's Director of Campaigns and Creative Content. Hey, Amy. All right, so just to get some housekeeping out of the way real quick, during the webinar session, if you could please, if you have any questions, include those in our Q&A as opposed to the chat. That will help us ensure that no questions get missed or get buried in the chat, and that we get to answer all of the questions. So we will be looking at all of the Q&A at the end of the session, and I think we're ready to go ahead and get started. What do you think, Amy? We're good? All right.
Good morning. I think we're ready. Thanks so much for joining us.
All right, so this morning, I want to introduce some of the panel who will be joining us. And they are special guests who joined us today because everybody knows you can't have a signing day without a supportive village. Specifically, having the endorsement of your school principal, having the help of a CTE coordinator and teachers to organize it, or community partnership to ensure industry is present. So I want to thank all of our panelists who joined us today, Ms. Claudette Garcia, who is the principal of Fremont Collegiate High School. Also Latasha Wilson, who is the CTE coordinator for Pflugerville ISD. Shannon Green, who is the industry partner coordinator for Dallas ISD. Paige Crane, our career and education outreach specialist for the Workforce Solutions Capital Area team, and Karen Stubblefield, who is the operations manager for the Workforce Solutions Deep East team. So welcome. Each of our guests will be providing their perspectives as we conduct the majority of the webinar in a roundtable discussion. So let's go ahead and take a look at what the agenda looks like for today. So today we're going to discuss how your school can host your own signing day. We're also going to talk about the value of Career Signing Day and how to access free resources and templates that TWC, our creative team, has created in order to help you promote your big day with ease. We're going to look at some best practices that our experienced Career Signing Day panelists will provide to us, including ideas for swag or how to leverage social media for your event. We're also going to talk about why and how to coordinate with community partners within your either local workforce board development boards or different community leadership in the area. And finally, we're going to learn how to get involved with the Make It Movement signing day that is happening this fall. All righty. So with that, let's talk about career signing days. So essentially, these events provide an opportunity to recognize and celebrate high school students who are choosing to enter career pathways that lead into high demand careers and occupations directly after high school. Now, these events are often hosted by our schools, Texas schools, typically at the end of the year, to celebrate and bring together families of seniors who will soon be graduating. They're also an opportunity to help those students celebrate their decisions with their families, friends, and the employers who are going to be hiring them. We like to believe that career signing days add value to communities by recognizing all of the opportunities available beyond high school, whether it's career apprenticeship or even workforce training programs, because they place a lot of emphasis, the same or as much emphasis on the decision to pursue athletics and academics as a decision to pursue occupations. And essentially, we know that's what the long-term goal is for everyone, because we all have to work, right? So I do want to mention here, although we tend to speak about choosing academics, athletics, or career pathways as opposing or separate things, actually combining career signing days to either traditional signing days or decision days is what we think a simple approach to kind of providing recognition to all of your students all at the same time for all of the choices that they're making. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Amy Landrum, who's going to share with us some resources that you can use to get your own career signing days started.
Thank you, Lori. One thing we want to make sure you are aware of are free resources that the Workforce Commission has developed and are making available to you. If you'll go to this landing page, twc.texas.gov/signing day, you'll see this is our landing page for Texas Career Signing Day, and this is where the resources live. This is also where our calendar of events is. So for those of you who have submitted your event details, you'll see them displayed there. If you've got an event coming up that you haven't submitted yet, please feel free to send us an email and we'll get it posted. Over on the right rail of this page are the resources. So we've made these available to you as options. There's a logo, that Texas Career Signing Day logo that you can use if you just need something to get started. There's a template for a flyer, an invitation, a certificate, a letter of intent. Those are, again, all optional resources for you. You can use and customize with your own logo, with your own school information, or you can just use them as thought starters to help you get started with your own suite of collateral. Those are free, available. If you need any help or if you have any other ideas for other resources, let us know. We also have there an event planning checklist. Again, it can be really helpful just to have something to help you get started. And you're going to get a lot of great details on that from our panelists today. What you're looking at here on this slide is a graphic of the certificate of intent template. So I want to just point out, this is a template you can download. It has fillable forms. So if you need something quick that you need to use right away, this is available. All you have to do is enter your student's name, signing information, and you're ready to go. Let us know if you have any questions about those resources, and let's dig a little deeper. Back over to you, Lori. Oh, wait, we got to remember the pen. One of the things that we've heard from so many of you is, I almost forgot the pen. And when you think about it, for a signing day, the students are the star of the show, but the pen is the other star. It's really important to have a pen available. And one of the things you can think about is, this is a great opportunity to invest into engraved pens with your students' names on it. Ask your employers to donate pens, or work with your workforce board or other community partners to come up with some great pens. And I think we're going to hear from some of our panelists today. These pens are such hot commodities that oftentimes it's a whole family affair. Everybody in the family who comes to these events wants to walk away with their pen. So make sure you make a note about that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amy. So now we get to, move on to the best part, I think, of the session, and that's going to be asking our panelists to share their wisdom and best practices with you. So I'm going to ask our guests to unmute themselves and turn your cameras on, because essentially we're going to open this up as a roundtable discussion about best practices. So I know I have some recommendations that I've collected, but I'm going to ask the panelists actually to consider the question: what do you wish you knew before you hosted your first event? And then I'm going to ask Latasha Wilson to kind of kick us off with that conversation. You can answer the question, or you can just simply let us know what your best practices are.
Yes, sure. Good morning, everyone. Excuse my technical issues with my camera, but best practices, some things that we wish we would have known. Getting the right people involved through the process early, start early with this process, and as well as know the timing. This date can catch up with you very quickly.
Thank you, Latasha. Shannon, did you want to add anything?
Yes, definitely. The best practice that I know for this year that I'm going to implement is learning the timing of the event. It is important that we know that all stakeholders are going to be involved, but we also have to be very cognizant that some of the parents, of course, they don't get out for work until later, and we want to make sure that they join in the event. So being very cognizant about the timing of the event, even though our students are there throughout the day, but we want to make sure that the employers as well as the parents have an opportunity to participate. So it may have to be at 5 o'clock, 5 to 6, or 5 to 7. So just being very cognizant about the timing.
Thank you for that. So Claudette, I know you've been doing these for a hot minute, we'll say. What kind of guidance would you like to give the audience?
I would agree with Latasha and Shannon as far as planning, definitely planning early. Communicating with, we're a very small district, but we have students that go to many different locations. So making sure that you have those connections, making sure that you're reaching out if the student is going to sign. We like to include 100% of our students. Everybody. So if somebody says that they want to go to Harvard, all the way to somebody that is going to sign and that they're going to work for the city of Fremont. Not that either one of those is better than the other. And that's what we really try to enforce, is that we don't want to prioritize anybody over somebody else. So there is not a future plan that is better than anybody else. Making sure that we make those connections and that we reach out to representatives. If there's not a representative there for the organization, sometimes it changes the dynamics of the student signing. We will still have the student sign, but it always adds to it when there's a representative from the organization, whether it's an IHE, a workplace, anybody that's there saying, yes, I am going to receive this student as soon as they get that high school diploma. I think that that's really, really important.
That's great. Thank you so much for that. The only other really advice that I had collected that hasn't already been mentioned is to ensure that there's, one person on the campus who is the point of contact for the event. Clearly you want to have a team to support you, but to have one person who's the contact so that nothing ever gets lost in somebody's inbox or voicemail. All righty. Would anyone else, any of the other panelists, like to add anything? All right. So in addition to best practices, I know that you have some very specific ways in which you either gather information about identifying students or vetting that information. And Claudette, you spoke about that a little bit at a meeting that we had the other day. Can you tell us about your collection and vetting process?
Just making sure that we verify with IHEs, we verify with career opportunities, making sure if the student says, I'm going to go to this IHE, that number one, yes, they've actually applied, they've been accepted, and they're on the recruiter's list, and they have verified that that is going to be their future plan. Just learned from experience that if somebody says they're going to go to a college, let's make sure that that is the for sure plan. Or if they say, I'm going to be a Marine, great. Have they actually talked to a recruiter and signed? So that's really, we do make sure, like you mentioned, that we have one point of contact who has verified for every single student what their future plan is, and that it is a legitimate opportunity for that student.
That's great advice. Does anyone else want to talk about their identification of students or the vetting process?
Absolutely. I'll go ahead and start. So here in our district, there are several identifying criteria that we use. They have to have earned an IBC, completed a CTE program of study, or be accepted within employment with a business related to their program of study, or been accepted in a post-secondary related major in their program of study, which they studied in high school. So that's how we identify. And we last year, and I know we're going to talk about this a little later, but last year we used a Google form to identify and have students communicate back with us. And we also have a district CTE email address that they were supposed to submit all of their verifying documents to us as well.
Oh, that's great. All right. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to add?
Our process is very similar to Latasha's as well. We work very closely with our program coordinators who oversee the mini career clusters here at Dallas ISD. And from there, those program coordinators coordinate with teachers to identify, number one, those graduating seniors who have obtained those industry-based certifications, as well as on my team, my industry partner coordinator team, we identify those employer partners who want to hire those graduating seniors, in which we actually have them go through a job fair, which was just yesterday. And so throughout the semester, number one, to make sure that we do recognize those students who are entering the workforce, but also making sure twofold that we do recognize those students who have obtained those certifications. So it's pretty much similar to Latasha's process.
That's great, Shannon. All right, would any of our workforce board folks like to hop in and talk about any best practices or helping to vet students? Hey, Karen.
Hi, this is Karen Stubblefield. I'm in Lufkin at DP's Texas Workforce Board. As far as identifying students, I think, so from a workforce board, I'm obviously not at the schools organizing these things. And I applaud you all that are focusing on this very important tactic in helping to promote work and supporting our local economies. But I know it does take a lot of effort and planning to be successful. But I do want to emphasize how important it is to involve the employers and celebrate those students who are going directly to work, who've gotten those certifications and are headed directly to work or headed to those trainings or colleges. Having the employers on your campuses and celebrating with the students they're hiring is really contributing to building that relationship with your local businesses. The more that connection builds, the more those students see those local businesses as ideal places to go to work. It's really opening their eyes and introducing them to great opportunities right there in their own communities. So this is a great way to build that connection with employers and continue to send your kids to those local quality jobs. But I know it's hard, apparently, to get the kids sometimes to tell you, the counselors, where they're going to work. But I just want to encourage you to don't, hunt them down or help them get to those answers to you so that we can celebrate their decisions. I also have seen that it's a very exciting time to involve your local officials. The state legislators, the county judges, the mayors, the chambers of commerce, they would all love to be invited and to celebrate these next steps of your students. And again, the more you get them involved, the more success you're going to have when you're planning work-based learning projects or when you're looking for involvement at your campuses. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Karen. Yeah, you raise a lot of really good points. So thank you so much for saying all that. So now that we've talked about some of the best practices and how to identify and vet your students, let's talk about what you do to actually celebrate them. So what do your events look like? How do you promote them? And I'm going to call out specifically Latasha, because you mentioned the other day an approach that you have to providing an opportunity for your students to be able to personalize the tables when they sit to sign. So if you wouldn't mind speaking to that.
Absolutely. So of course, we communicate all information out through our CTE email. And in that email, we kind of lay out what students and parents, and believe it or not, parents have more fun than the students when setting up their tables for this event. But we just want to recognize their accomplishments they've done they've completed over the 4 years. And if they were involved in any other activity on campus, they are more than welcome to decorate their table any way they want. We actually celebrated over 200 students last year, and we had to have it in 2 sessions because we have 4 comprehensive high schools. And we have a team of 5 in the CTE office to do this. So, and of course, I'm the one that handles all the IBC. So I have the IBC information, but then we rely on the students to give us all the other verifying information. But yeah, the parents are able to bring the swag, and they have about 1 minute to dress the tables, take their pictures, and move on. But we also have a photo booth camera that they are able to take with family. And then also with the celebrating students, and I'm gonna mention this later, but we have appetizers, little finger foods for the families as well.
How about you, Claudette? What are your
We,
events?
we encourage, if it's an IHE, we encourage the IHE to decorate their table, because the way we set our signing day is for every IHE, if there's more than 4 students, and again, we're a small district, if there's more than 4 students with that specific IHE, if there's more students that are going to that specific work field, then we'll have a table dedicated to that IHE or workforce. So they'll have that table already decorated. We encourage them to bring their swag. It's not going to be personalized. I love this idea that Letitia has put out there. So, but it's going to be tablecloth with their name on it. We will add balloons in the color, and then we make sure that we have a booth specifically for extra, I guess you would say. If there's only 1 student that is signing somewhere, we're going to have a table. It'll still be decorated. And they could add something like this to personalize it for themselves. And then we keep 1 table that is for anybody that is signing in a workforce. And that is where our workforce representatives are there, and they have swag as well for our local workforce board.
Got it, thank you. How about you, Shannon? What do your events look like?
So last year during our piloted CTE signing day, of course, for our cosmetology career cluster, the actual table, of course, was Dallasized with the Dallasized DCTE tablecloths, as well as those personalized table tents that had the logo of the high school, which was Skyline High School, as well as the name of the student and the actual industry partner in which those students would that committed to the workforce. Of course, the students had those pens, and that was something that they talked about. We did well with the pens. And so we also had the letter of intent that is on the table, in which both the student as well as the industry partner signed at the same exact time. There were balloons, of course. The tables were decorated thanks to the culinary arts career cluster at Skyline High School. So we also embed different career clusters to help support that event. So definitely it was pretty cool.
Nice. All right, so we've talked about the events, we've talked about vetting the students and helping them get swag and all that. Let's talk about social media. So how are y'all leveraging social media in order to promote your events, or before or after the event? And what hashtags do you use? I'll let any of y'all take it first. Go ahead, Claudette, you unmuted.
Thank you. So you mentioned earlier, I've been doing this for a while, and our very first signing day was when we had, we wanted to make sure 100% of our students were celebrated, and we invited our local workforce. They were the ones actually who turned us on to how powerful social media could have been to this event. So they went live through the entire event and posted it on they tagged our district page, they tagged our campus page, so that parents who could not be there could still celebrate, and families that couldn't be there could still celebrate. And it was received so well that we have continued that every single year since then. So this is going to be the 8th year that we're going to incorporate our workforce board, making sure, and like I said, they do an awesome job with the social media. And I hadn't even considered hashtagging. So to answer your question, we don't hashtag, but we will be.
I would say not yet.
Yes.
Shannon, did you have any?
I do, definitely. Dallas ISD CTE, we actually have a landing page that promotes our CTE signing day. So I don't mind sharing it with everybody. And so you can actually see what our registration looks like, our plug and play toolkit of what our teachers and campuses will actually receive once they register for the events, but also it promotes our job fairs. And so we actually have a CTE landing day page as well as a PSA that's actually on the website, so you look and see what those events from last year looked like. On the agenda for each of the events that's included into our plug and play toolkit, we have a total of 4 hashtags that we use for our social media accounts. We mostly use LinkedIn for our promotion. So you can look at Dallas ISD Career and Technical Education on our LinkedIn page. But last year I used a hashtag CTESD 2022. I also used hashtag letter of intent, of course, hashtag future workforce, and of course, hashtag Dallas ISD CTE. We also, throughout the program, we made sure that it was posted on the podium. So for those kids that were pretty techie within the event, they were able to go on, take pictures, and add those included. As well as we made sure throughout the event, we started off with that, as well as we ended and reminded them, please make sure they use the hashtag when going on social media.
Great, thank you.
Okay, I'm taking notes myself because y'all have some great ideas. We use LinkedIn and we use Facebook, but we highly rely on our community relations team to support us with promoting the event. Yes, we've used, if y'all ever have gone through Pflugerville, PF is everywhere. So we do PF Ready. I am CTE, that's a hashtag as well, but we just really rely on our community relations team to help promote our events.
That's great. So I know that Coy Van Valkenburg is in the audience. I'm going to ask her to raise her hand so that I can find her in the sea of participants and promote her to a panelist. I know she's one of our ISD partners out in the Deep East area, and I'd like her to be able to add any information if she can. In the meantime, here we go. Let's see if here she is. I'm going to allow her to speak and let me promote her to panelist. So Coy, you have the floor, and I think you should be able right now to unmute yourself and also turn on your camera.
So I didn't, it kicked me off just for a minute while you were in the middle of asking the question. So if you could restate that.
Sure. Well, I know that you're one of our partners out in the district in the Deep East area, and you work very closely with Karen Stubblefield, who is from our workforce board. So we've all been talking about best practices for folks who may be contemplating, hosting one of these events for the first time. Is there any type of a best practice that you would like to give us?
I would just say, kind of add what everyone else was saying, is make sure you start early. And then just pump it up and make it a big deal. That's the biggest thing, is that our kids want to feel loved and feel just as excited. And I know you guys get that same, and we all do things a little bit different, but I've gotten some great ideas already from you guys. And so I'm curious to see a little bit more on that too, the social media, but just making it really nice and special. Like we do a stage, and we've changed it up a little bit different the past 2 years that we've done it, and we're going to do it a little bit different this year as well. But I would say just the planning, verification of that enrollment and what their future plans are, and then making sure you involve the parents and community in that too, because it's a big highlight, because we're kind of a small town as well. So
thank you so much for that. So we've talked about this from the perspective of those who are hosting the event. But I want to talk about the importance of coordinating with community partners too. And I think it was Shannon who's going to talk to us, because you're an expert on community partnership.
So what in our team, we actually have a little bit over 200 industry partners that we work with all the time. And so many of those particular industry partners are very interested in hiring those students who are interested in entering the workforce after they graduate from high school. We depend on them very heavily because we know that some students are not going to college, but we want to make sure that those students have choices of what they can do after high school. And so we do work with our local workforce development board, also our Chamber of Commerce, also our Workforce Solutions. They do a great job with helping us secure and communicate with local industry partners in our career clusters. But also we work highly with our program coordinators, who are the very first touch for those teachers and those students. And so it's just very important that you build relationships with these partners, because they do have jobs out there. And so what they try to do is make sure that there are so many avenues out there to get this information out there about those needed positions, whether that's coming to talk to the students, to have one-on-ones with them at the campus, especially for those graduating seniors that are still unsure about their choice of what they want to do after high school, but also making sure that they participate in our annual job fair and internship fairs. So we have so many opportunities for those industry partners to come in and talk about the trends in their workforce. And so it's very greatly needed for our students.
Thank you so much for that. Would anyone else like to add on the conversation of, working with community partners?
Yes, I would like to add, we have 2 industry leadership councils. We call them ILCs in our district, and we are always promoting, of course, everything we do with CTE, but of course, our signing day. And a lot of these partners do come, as you've seen in some of those pictures, they do come and they take pictures with the students, which they appreciate, because some of these students do go on and actually work with them. But the industry leadership councils are extremely important to get involved. And as Shannon has on this slide as well, with the coordinated with partners, these are some key players when planning a signing day and keeping them involved in your CT programming.
Thank you so much for saying that, Natasha. I know that you wanted to mention something else about social media.
Oh, yes. So also, I'm not big on social media, but I try. I really, really try. It's just, it's an overload. But we do tag our partners in our social media posts that participated. And of course, when communicating or celebrating our signing day, because you'd be amazed, once one partner sees it, another one wants to be involved the next year. So just don't forget to tag your partners.
Thank you. That's great advice. So, speaking on, promotion and social media, I did want to show this. It's a very short clip. Dallas ISD created a PSA on the event. Thank you for sharing that with us, Shannon. So let's take a look.
Hi, my name is Oswaldo Alvarenga. I'm a deputy chief in Dallas ISD. By collaborating with our industry partners, the Career and Technical Education CTE department continues to lead its efforts by growing the Dallas ISD talent pipeline. The Dallas ISD CTE department aims to provide students with hands-on, work-based learning experiences to further their preparation for high-skill, high-wage, in-demand careers available in the Dallas region. The Texas Career Signing Day is a statewide initiative that provides an opportunity to recognize and celebrate graduating high school students choosing to enter career pathways leading to in-demand careers and occupations directly from high school. The CTE department is elated to host our annual Signing Day events for the 2022-2023 school year at numerous campuses to recognize graduating high school seniors who have earned industry-based certifications and have chosen to enter the workforce after high school. Our students are career ready, have the credentials along with the knowledge and skills developed in the classroom that will lead them to secure gainful and long-term employment. Join us as we celebrate graduating seniors across the district and our CTE industry partners who will sign letters of intent to join the future workforce.
That's amazing, Shannon. So can you tell us how how has your district leveraged that PSA? Where is it being used? And can you tell how many times it's been viewed?
I can't at the moment because my
Okay.
guru, he went to lunch on me. So,
Okay.
but last year when I actually reached out to Amy Langdrum and I was able to get a lot of tidbits from her, looking at the toolkit that you guys created, as well as the checklist, and kind of going from there, also researching other organizations that have conducted CTE signing day. And so from there, we were able to create our toolkit, especially with the logo of the signing. I thought that was pretty cool when we finally decided on that, as well as the step and repeats. We never had that before. And I was like, okay, we need to step and repeat for the pictures and things like that. And so just being creative and having a team that's very innovative about recognizing our students in CTE, whether they have an industry-based certification, whether they're going to the workforce, but also recognizing the work that we've done. The actual PSA that's on the CTE signing day landing page is a compilation of the actual events that happened last year. But this PSA was more important this year because this is our second year actually conducting the CTE signing day. It was important that it was short, but also very thorough on the intentions of what we want to do with our CTE signing day. And so in order for us to make sure that we get this promoted, we wanted to make sure that we get our top admin involved as well. And so that's where Oswaldo comes in at. But the actual PSA is shown in our industry leadership councils, somewhat similar to Latasha's, but also on our social media sites, as well as we have professional development trainings with our teachers. And we want to make sure that to get the word out to say, hey, this event is available for everybody. And we know that sometimes it may kind of get lost in the loop. I say the iCloud, CTE iCloud somewhere. However, it's still important for us to understand to promote our own programs, promote our own big rocks, promote our own events. So everybody understand that we are intentional about getting our students into the workforce.
Great job. Great job. You got lots of love and reactions to your video. So congratulations for that. I know we're talking about coordinating with partners, and one of those partners that's listed is our education outreach specialists. And Karen talked a little bit about this when she's talking about ensuring that our schools are working with our local workforce solution offices and workforce boards. I think this is a key role in order to do that. So I'm going to invite Paige to come and join me if you can unmute yourself and talk to us about the career education outreach specialists.
Absolutely. So there have been a couple mentions about starting early, and I think one of our main roles is really connecting early with the students, and that building that bridge between the students, the schools, and the industry partners. So we do a lot of different events. We love to help coordinate the actual day of, but we also, from the very first day of the school year, we can bring in industry speakers into the classroom. We like to help coordinate those career fairs, making those connections, building that list for ISDs of partners that they have. We create opportunities for students to go job shadow, to go do site tours. These are all things to make sure that students are more educated in those decisions so that they can make that confident signing day decision. We also like to help connect teachers and counselors with things like externships so they can be more educated in sharing those opportunities with their students. There are a lot of different opportunities for Earn and Learn, connecting students with internships, apprenticeships, sharing all of that information about all the opportunities that are out there. Yeah, and also connecting with like some of the obstacles. What are things that are holding people back from joining the workforce? Looking at financial aid, looking at childcare, looking at transportation, all of these things that may keep a student from moving forward into the workforce. We look at how to remove some of those obstacles. And we love partnering with our district. I partner with Latasha Wilson in Pflugerville, and I'm really excited for our signing day up here in May.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for mentioning the career and education outreach specialist. And for what it's worth, I'm just gonna let you guys know that there are actually currently 20 regional teams that are spread around the state of Texas who do the same kind of work that Paige and Karen, Stephen Bridges, I saw him, he's here too. A lot of our teams that are located across the state. So if you're interested in finding out if there is a localized education outreach specialist in your area, or if you're interested in connecting with them, please email us at the contact that you see here, career information at TWC. That is monitored by myself and our state level education outreach team, and we can get you connected with your local partners. All right, so I'm going to ask the panelists again. We talked about best practices, and now it's just open discussion. Anybody who wants to jump in here and give us any of your lessons learned. What did you learn? What were your challenges, or what would you advise someone to completely avoid? And I'll let anybody take it. Who's
I'm
gonna
gonna
unmute first?
Jump in.
Right.
There's a fine line between having parents be available for the event, and we like to actually have younger students. This is a senior event, but we invite our freshmen, sophomores, and juniors so that they can see what's in store for them. So it definitely is focused towards family, but we like to encourage. So we do have, I've gone back and forth between a daytime event and an evening event. If it's an evening event, we don't have those captured students. So we invite them and they never come. But when we do a daytime event, number one, recruiters have a better opportunity to come, but then you have the work people who sometimes have an issue being able to be there. So it's a real big balance between those two things. And it's really something that your district and your campus needs to decide what's our best push forward and where do we want to put our priority. And then lesson learned was dress code. Ask the students a specific dress code. It's just been
Good
there,
point.
done that. It's a good idea to let ladies know what they need to be wearing. Let the guys know, please don't show up in shorts. So that's a lesson learned for us.
Great idea. How about you, Latasha?
I don't know if it's lessons learned, but you can get your pens ready. Order your marketing materials early, which we had some, but like I said, those pens were very popular and we ran out of pens because some whole families wanted pens. Also, make sure you find your announcer, because we announced each student name. I was not the one, so I just wanted to share that, but find you a good announcer, and that was our P-TECH coordinator for us last year. If you are renting eating tables, we did high top tables for our little appetizers, and we did use our culinary program. Let's see, space. We're limited in our district. So we've outgrown our space. So one of our partners stepped up and let us use their facility for next year. Also sync your calendars with your campuses. Know what's happening on your campuses and make sure there's no conflict with your date. And we do offer our event in the evening so parents can attend. And then I think that's all my notes that I put over here on my end.
Thank you for that. How about you, Shannon?
One of the lessons learned that I believe and it's my only one, is really, this is a marketing piece also for your industry partners. A lot of them do a lot of community outreach. And so everyone is looking at their social media as well. So just think about it. If they are promoting this event with them hiring our students, other industry partners from other places are looking. They've reached out numerous times. Hey, I didn't know you guys do that. And so it's great to have that available for them, your PSA, reaching out on social media, because a lot of them, they're just clicking on just like we're doing, but they want to get involved too. So it leverages that outreach for them to get involved with hiring our students. So that's a great tidbit that I want to share with everyone.
Thank you so much, Shannon. And Coy, did you have anything you would like to add as a lesson learned?
I would say along the same lines as everyone else, but really the business partners, because we do ours a little bit different. And I would say if you haven't done it before, even if you had, for us, like I said, I've learned things from everyone else speaking on how they do their layout, because each year it's going to continue to grow as it kind of gets notoriety and the kids recognize it and want to be involved and their parents want them to be involved. And so I think that that's one thing. This will be our third year. Our first year was kind of small, so we recognized each individual student. So just time, but some of the things, and that's where I want to kind of see pictures from everyone else's and how your setup was, because we want to make it a big deal. And I think the other thing is even if you don't have those students that are particularly signing directly for a job per se, because we do ours a little bit different. If you're continuing your program of study, even a trade school or anything like that, and you've earned that IBC, then we recognize them as well as signing with the workforce. But just like everyone else has said, is go ahead and get your industry partners and your businesses involved and invited to that event, because us partnering with Workforce, they've been a huge component in doing that and building our job fair that we just came off our Youth Career Summit. And that was big advertisement for our business partners. And you want them to show up to those things, because we've also done mock interviews and things like that. Like I said, we're a one high school district, so it's a little bit different in comparison with some of you guys. But as far as building that excitement, because so many of those business partners don't know what you offer possibly at your school, and what certifications and what you can put students out in. But this is a great way to do that. Just invite them. Our culinary department did the same thing and did finger foods and desserts and things. And so we'll do that. We're going to actually do ours in the morning this year. So, but get everyone involved and go ahead and invite your industry partners, even if they don't have anyone that's signing, but that way they can be a part of it, they can celebrate it, and then they can help spread the word as well. So I think that that's a huge component that maybe we haven't done as much of in the past, and we're going to look to do that as well.
Thank you so much. So, I just want to give a big shout out and thank you to all of our panelists who gave us such great advice. And we're going to get to questions here in a moment. But before we do, I'm going to invite Amy Landrum, my colleague, to talk to us about the Make It movement.
Thanks, Lori. Speaking of community partners, we want to make sure you're aware of makeitmovement.org. This is an organization that works with education and workforce systems they're really working to create this rapid and compelling awareness of all of the millions of high skill, high income careers. So kind of consider them an extension of what many of you are already doing. Many of you are already working with Make It Movement to look at how you can align messaging, resources, and opportunities. We have a short video from Make It Movement to play. So Lori, let me let you play that, and then we have a little bit more information.
Okay.
Is there anything we as Texans all agree on? Anything?
Yes, there is.
Every parent in Texas wants their kids
To be successful.
So welcome to the Make It Movement. Working with school counselors, CTE instructors, teachers, parents, employers to use marketing as a force for good, showing students high income, high skill careers that they don't know about, so they are confident about making it after high school. We all want our kids to be successful. Go to makeitmovement.org.
Thanks, Lori. There's a lot of great information and resources on their website. So if you haven't heard of them yet, you haven't checked it out, we highly encourage you to do that. I think a couple of things that are really important to just kind of point out as we represent this organization. They're really working on, awareness, knowledge, and confidence for students about all of these career pathway opportunities. And they're using marketing, TV, digital, online, social to kind of get these messages out there. So they have resources available that you can use and that you can align with. They're convening statewide School Counselor Alliance, CTE Alliance, and Workforce Solutions partnerships. So many of our Workforce Solutions boards are also coordinating with Make It Movement. And a lot of this organization is going to be leading up to an event happening this fall. So this fall, October 6th, they're planning a statewide signing day event, what they hope will be the largest signing event moment in history. This will be at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. So we want to put this on your radar, kind of consider it a save the date. This will be an opportunity for schools, students, industry, employer partners to come together and celebrate these big decisions that these students have been talking about. So if you have students who are graduating this year and entering industry, they will be invited to attend this event. They'll have that perspective of being a few months out of high school graduation. If you have your rising seniors that are thinking about what they want to do and what their moment is, it's an opportunity for them to attend also as they're planning that process and making their decisions. As more information becomes available about this event, Lori will be sending that information out, sharing it with you, inviting you to participate, whether it's in person or possibly a live streaming opportunity into your school campus. We do have a representative from Make It Movement on the call today, Allison Brandt. So she'll be available during the Q&A period if you have any questions for her. Thanks, Lori.
Thank you, Amy. So I just want to wrap it up and say, I hope you did a good job getting everybody excited. You know, the big question is who's ready to sign up. But I also wanted to mention, I know that we've talked about how, a good event really takes a village and a lot of time. And so if there's anything you could take with you as we leave today, as we wrap up, is to say, your next step is to select your day for May 2024 and get things started now so that you can hopefully get your event to go without a hitch next year. But there's still time to do something now if you want to recognize the students who are getting ready to graduate. And some suggestions that we have would be to utilize the templates that are available to you through the TWC website. If nothing else, you can send a letter of congratulations and a copy of the certificate to the families at home or hand them to the students at school. You can mention their names and the commitments that they're selecting in your morning announcements, or you can go the extra mile and reach out to those employers and get them to sign the letter of intent and send that along with the certificate and congratulatory letter to the families. So one last thing that I wanted to mention before we open up for questions is you see a website here at the bottom right-hand corner. The Texas Workforce Commission is asking for all of our schools, if you're hosting an event, please send the information for the event. We would like to know the district, the name of the school, where is this taking place, what date and time, because we would love to be able to hype it up on our own social media. We would love to be able to send a representative from the agency as well to these events, or connect with your local workforce solution or workforce board office to get representation from those offices there as well. So send your information to signing day at twc.texas.gov, and we will coordinate to share that information on our social media. We'd also like to invite you to, even after the fact, send us videos or any photos that you'd have that you'd like to share, because we will also share those on our social media as well. Amy, is there anything you want to add before we open up for questions?
I think you caught it, Lori. As you can see here in this presentation, we have all of these wonderful photos and videos that were taken at last year's event. Thank you so much to our guest speakers for sending us these. We'd love to continue to capture those, push those out on social, use these, but also Make It Movement organization is interested in anything you're interested in, willing to share, because they're going to be also creating a sizzle reel and highlighting your events at this event in the fall. So we look forward to working with you to capture as many of those moments as possible so that we can continue to promote it throughout the year. Thanks, Lori.
Thank you. So essentially this is our Q&A portion. I don't see any questions in the Q&A folder, but I did see some scrolling through our chat. Ronnie, I'm going to ask you if you can to unmute to let us know what questions have we missed so far in the chat.
Yeah, so we have, a lot of people were talking about, having adequate time to plan in advance. And I forget who it was, but someone asked, like, more specifically, how much time should they set aside in advance to plan the event successfully?
So I'm going to let some of our experts, if you'd like to unmute and give your recommendation.
We start planning when we come back from Christmas. And we typically pick a date. This year I was at a conference with Lori and that forced me to pick a date right then. But we typically pick a date, January, early February. It doesn't start to get real for students until we get back from spring break. And once we make that transition, then they start making their final decision. So that's where we land.
Thank you, Claudette. Latasha, you mentioned earlier that you use a Google form in order to collect information about students. And someone asked, Adelina Jacobs asked if you would be willing to share that Google form.
Absolutely. I'll share what we had last year, but we use a platform called School Links this year. So we'll be communicating all information through School Links, and there is a form embedded in School Links that we'll use this year. But I will be able to share what we can, absolutely. And then just like Claudette said, we start in the spring for planning, but I will say this is our second year and it gets easier. So once you have your first year down, of course you want to make changes every year, but it gets easier and the process goes a little faster.
That's definitely good to know. Latasha, feel free to share forms, actually all of our panelists, and any kind of documentation you would like to share. And then I'll be sure to attach those to the email. I will send out to everyone who registered links to the recording and then those documents as well. All right. So I see no one.
There's a question. Oh, sorry to cut you off, Laura.
No, you go ahead, Ronnie.
So someone asked, and I can't remember if this was addressed to the whole group or not, but someone asked, should the event be held before or after seniors graduate? And Shannon answered that question saying that she prefers hosting the event before the seniors graduate, but I didn't know if anyone else had any opinions about that.
The same, we do our event before seniors graduate. We have basically 2 weeks of senior events, and it's part of that 2 weeks.
Yes, so we offer the signing day around the same time period each year, so parents and campuses know when this date is coming. It is after hours. And we keep it short. So we had to offer 2 sessions last year. So it's about 45 minutes for each session, and we were able to get it through. And parents appreciated that it was not a long drawn type of ceremony. That was a lot of feedback that received.
That's a great point, Latasha. I like that.
Yeah, I like that. I like that style. I was at that one, Latasha. It worked out really well. And even staying for both of the sessions didn't even seem all too long either.
Yeah, I like I said, I told Latasha we were very impressed with the Pflugerville event last year. There is a question about what is everyone doing about release of information for students via photos or videos?
Normally, we have a media release form that those students have to sign. And so we definitely want to make sure, especially with the teachers that are being involved within that career cluster or program of study, we make sure that one of the parts of our checklist is making sure that that teacher has a media release form and ensuring that those students know that, hey, this will be on social media, course of the hashtag, so they already know pretty much, but making sure that they have those media release forms, especially for those industry partners, they may want to share it as well. So we make sure that the industry partners, they have their own media release forms as well. And so those students will need to sign those too, because sometimes they like to put those photos and images on their organization's website or via their newsletter.
Very good point, Shannon. And if I could add any to that, if they can provide us their release forms early, that would be great. But I mean, of course, that night parents are there so they can go ahead and sign off if necessary. But in the beginning of the school year, we have forms that sit out through the campuses, but we also embedded in our Google form last year where parents can automatically click for permission as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. So there is a question about the Make It Movement event happening, or the Why Texas event happening at AT&T Stadium. As I'm reading the question, I'm going to ask Amy Landrum to think about an answer, but I believe there is somebody from the Make It movement here. If you would not mind raising your hand, I can promote you to a panelist. That way you can speak as well. So the question here is, can someone talk a little bit more about the event at the AT&T Stadium coming up? What does it look like? Does everybody sit together and listen to people talk? Is it a trade booth type event for networking? What can people expect at the celebration? She's got some information, but hasn't got a good grasp as what to expect for that particular event. So Amy.
I would agree. I think it would be great to hear from Allison. Let's see. Allison, are you able to raise your hand so Lori can?
Here she is. I got her.
Perfect.
All right, Allison, I am promoting you to a panelist. You should be able to unmute and turn your camera on.
Sorry, y'all. And I apologize, I'm in a shared space today, so you may hear a little music. So the Y Texas event, so we have been invited by Y Texas. So if you go to Y Texas, the letter Y, texas.com, you can learn more. And this is their youth summit. And basically the total sum of the event is really based around industry. And then a year or so ago, the founder and CEO, Ed Curtis of Y Texas, was working with Commissioner Dimerson, along with a few others, and they really recognized the opportunity around workforce development and talent pipelines to toward high school, and how this could be combined with this Y Texas Summit. So last year we had our first event where youth were featured. Commissioner Dimerson brought in his Texas Interns Unite group. They had over 500 students join in person, and it was a huge success. We have quotes from students saying something like it was the best day of their life, for example. And industry really came to bat. They brought in autonomous race cars, helicopters, lots of hands-on opportunities so that students could not only learn about the different companies, but learn about what they would be doing in their day-to-day and what each of these companies represented. So the event itself, it was very exciting. It's very exciting for young people. This year, we are all working together to really celebrate all signing days across Texas. And the Y Texas is actually kind of looking at it as it could be the largest signing day ever in Texas. So that's pretty fun too. And it's exciting for students across the state to feel like they're joining this movement for their future, and to see how many people and how much industry is supportive and encouraging of all of their pathway choices, whether it's not just 4-year, it's not just 2-year, any pathway that they choose, that we're all here to support them and celebrate them at this event on October 6th.
Thank you so much, Allison. So I know that we're now 3 minutes over our allotted time. So I just want to say thank you to everybody for taking the time to spend with us today. Special thanks to all the panelists who shared your information and gave us your tidbits. And so be on the lookout for an email from us to share this recording and any documents from our panelists, and have a wonderful day, everyone.